who are going to sing the national anthem. We would like everyone to stand, please, at this time, and we will proceed with the ceremony.
Let's all stand attentively.
You know, for example, that Prime Minister was very reluctant to declare a national emergency. In some instances, assistance comes after you declare a national emergency. But the Prime Minister insisted that we should not do that, that only those territories, only those communities that were badly affected should declare a special emergency. But despite that, the international community, the United States, World Bank, PAHO was the first agency in Dominica after the storm. In fact, there was a PAHO team to advise on the hospital, okay, the new hospital to be constructed by the Chinese, who were right there. So they were able very quickly to change their focus from the hospital to what it is that was needed. And that information coming back from PAHO officials was able to result in a quick turnaround of medical supplies from Haiti, from Barbados, from other points to Dominica. So we want to recognize and remember those international agencies that have provided assistance to us. We've had quite a bit of promise of financial and other assistance. I take it that you probably already know that Mexico has decided that they will be involved in the reconstruction of the village of Petit Savan. Okay? And when we talk to our partners, we're not just talking about coming and helping us reconstruct. We want to build and build better. Okay? We want to build better. So if in fact we're going to have to build a new village, we want to see a model village in Petit Savan, so that people from all over the island will come to see what a rural space, a newly conceptualized rural space. I want to thank all of those, including the mayor, who have provided material and financial assistance to us at this particular point in time. We want to thank all those in diaspora, including yourselves, who have rallied, who have provided what it is that you can, so that your brothers and sisters in Dominica are a bit more comfortable despite this terrible tragedy. But we also want to thank those who in the future are going to rally to our support, because this is not a short-term rebuilding exercise. It is going to take time. And as such, the commitment of Dominicans, the resolve of Dominicans, and incidentally when I talk about Dominicans, all of us are. whether you are born in Dominica or now live in Connecticut, in Richmond, you are, for all intents and purposes, Dominican. And the energy with which we rebuild is going to depend on the energy that you can bring forth to this important exercise. Let's take some of the lessons that we learned from David and convert them into new initiatives or in the response of Erica. Let me thank you very much, and again, congratulations to Dotstack on your persistence, on your survivability. When the history of Dominica in the diaspora is written, entities like Dotstack will have to be given special mention. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Charles. In less than 24 hours, I have become familiar with the gentleman who, during my course of interacting with him, triggered a couple words in my head. And yes, I'm sorry, I was observing all along. He's not even looking at me. It's all right. I realized he was an avid reader, an educator, a historian, patriotic, passionate, involved, philanthropic, but the word that kept being repeated internally for me is humble. Not proud, not arrogant, but modest. Our featured speaker is a native of Dominica and very accomplished. He is the principal of the law firm Gabriel J. Christian and Associates in Bowie, Maryland. Mr. Christian taught history at his alma mater, the Dominica Grammar School and Sixth Form College, before attending the University of the District of Columbia College of Business and Public Management in Washington, D.C., where he graduated with a BBA in Procurement and Public Contracting. Mr. Christian studied law at the famed Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C., graduating with the degree of Juris Doctor in 1991. Thereafter, he was admitted to the Maryland Bar and subsequently the Bar of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Mr. Christian is keenly involved as a community activist and civil leader in the Maryland community and elsewhere. In 2007, Governor Martin O'Malley, the then governor of the state of Maryland, appointed him to the position of Judicial Commissioner of the Maryland Court of Appeals. He is an established author and co-authored various books on Caribbean history and politics, including Rain on a Tin Roof and Mammo, The Life and Times of Dame Eugenia Charles. Mr. Christian is a father of two and a husband of one. It would be amiss of me not to acknowledge in our presence today this accomplished man and his better half, Mrs. Joan Christian. Thank you for accompanying your husband and gracing our presence. If I were about to go on about him, I'd probably write a bio, and we kind of want to cut that down. So I present to you our featured speaker, Mr.
Dearly beloved, Mayor Bill Finch, the Mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Let's give him an honorary Dominican a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. The next Mayor, Mayor Bill Finch. I hope I'm not engaged in local politics. I want to also thank the Mayor's office, Ms. Lovelace, the Ethics Commissioner, and all the other fine people who have worked with Dotstack to make this event possible. A round of applause for them. And I also want to thank Ambassador Hubert Charles for making the trip from Washington. 36 years ago, Dominica was struck by Hurricane David, took many lives, destroyed property. And 2 weeks after Hurricane David, my former teacher of history at the Sixth Form College, then principal at the Dominica Grammar School, Hubert Charles, called me and said, I have a job for you to teach agricultural science. So the first job that I got in the public service was given to me courtesy of Hubert Charles. A round of applause for him for having given me a start. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize our dear friend, the Ambassador to the United Nations, the Right Honorable Dr. Vince Henderson. A round of applause for Dr. Henderson. And we have other famous luminaries in the covered tent behind us. And I want to say that we have a beautiful crowd, and I don't want to get into names, but you know yourselves, those in the World Duet and those who are dressed in the national colors, and those who came here impelled by a sense of national spirit and purpose. Give yourselves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. When my wife Joan and I took the long trip from Washington, D.C. Metro to come to Bridgeport yesterday, because of the work of DOTSAC and leaders like Derek and David Mann and Fern Mann and all those who work with them tirelessly to put this together, we thought how hard it was to do duty. But as a small country, it's even more important for those who can do to do. So when on August 27, 2015, Dominica was struck by Tropical Storm Erica. How many people here, raise your hands, expected us to be struck by Tropical Storm Erica with the force that it did? If anybody here raises their hand, then I got a prize for you, because none of us, I would say, expected this thing to unfold in the way it did. I went to the office and I called my house, and we have a guest, Ms. Richards, and she said, haven't you heard the news? I said, what news? She says, Dominica has been flooded. I said, flooded by what? By whom? How? She said, Erica, the storm. And so the mayor is right. Statistically, the amount of people who are dead, confirmed, and those who are missing, it will be the statistical equivalent to about 210,000 Americans dying if this would have happened in the United States in one disaster. That's the impact on Dominica. But apart from the lives lost, we also lost a lot in infrastructure that will need to be built. And it will require every Dominican at home and abroad working with our friends and allies, and putting our hands together to do the best we can for Dominica. And it's in that context I want to share with you what I believe we should do. I believe we first of all should look at this disaster as an opportunity for some profound reflection. Brothers and sisters, things have not always been right on Dominica. We know that we can do better in many ways. We know that we can be more united. We know that we can be governed better. We know that the opposition and the government can work better together. We know that neighbors can work better with neighbors. We know that we can do more in community self-help. We know that we can join hands together. And I believe that this disaster was a wake-up call so that we can look at ourselves in the mirror and do a better job. Do you agree? Do you agree? That's correct. Folks, Dominica is ours to build. We will get the help of friends and allies. We will get the aid. In 1979, they called the aid Brogodo. How many people remember Brogodo? I see a lot of hands. Some people put on weight. As a result of Brogodo, up to now they've not lost the weight. But the reality is, folks, we have to understand that charity begins at home. That we cannot ask others to do for us that which we fail to do for ourselves. A famous U.S. president once said, someone who is dearly beloved and who was taken away from us in a very tragic way, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what it is you can do for your country. And folks, we have now as Dominicans to embrace part of our heritage which we may have forgotten. And so my old history professor, Hubert Charles, may remember the principle of Kudme. Kudme. How many people remember Kudme? Raise your hands, ladies and gentlemen. I see several hands. Kudme. K-O-U-D-M-E-N. Kudme means community self-help. In the old days, right after emancipation, when the folk in Dominica, the newly freed folks of African descent and carried people didn't have money to approach a bank, what they would do was to move a house or to build a house was the ladies would get together and make some nice sand coach with doan and some yam and plantain and cocoa or whatever they would get, you know, shudashin and so on. And they'd put that together in a pot, you know, and they would make some food on the side. Maybe they would have a little zaid on the side. Solo is looking at me when I mention zaid. And they would make that food there, and in the meantime, the men would work, cut the wood, saw the wood, nail the wood, put the house together. And they would build the house. That was called Kudme. Folks, a round of applause for Kudme and the Kudme Nation. So when this storm happened, a group of us got together at Evangel Assembly in Washington, led by Pastor Sinclair Mitchell, Pastor Bell, and a great amount of Dominican patriots and other friends of Dominica. We formed Rebuild Dominica. Rebuild Dominica is designed as a junction box, as a platform where Dominican organizations, wherever they may be across the United States or in Europe or in Canada, can come together online and in other places and work together to help rebuild Dominica. But as the ambassador said, we don't want to do it the same old way. We want to build it better. As I sat with him, Mayor Finch is a very wise man. He is a quick learner, and I think he ought to be given a second term. A round of applause, folks, for Mayor Finch. I hope I'm not involved in politics. I'm just stating the facts as they are. He mentioned to me that they developed a system in Bridgeport called Volunteer Emergency Response Team. And I like the idea. And I'm going to ask Mayor Finch, can you come up here for a second? Let's welcome Mayor Finch again to the podium. We're not done with him. Mayor Finch, could I get a public affirmation here that you would be working or be willing to work with the government and people of Dominica in designing or helping us design the Volunteer Emergency and Response Team Dominica?
We have something called the Community Emergency Response Team, and we'd love to share that with you. I think it will help your island nation, and we would love to do it.
Now, Mayor Finch told me he had two sons who were lawyers. I know a few things about law, but I take his word for it. We don't have to sign a contract. Let's thank the mayor for this agreement we have this afternoon. So folks, aid is not only in material terms, aid is also trying to train our people, provide our people with the competence to do a good job. Because we now have in Dominica, thanks to the assistance of people like Major Richards, who's now retired, Commandant Andrew, Robin, Raymond, Henry, and many others who've helped the cadet program, the revival of the Dominica Cadet Corps. These are young students at the high schools. I think Master Charles was a cadet back in his day who rose to the occasion. They raised the flag high when the disaster struck and started aiding the police and the fire service. It's like ROTC in the United States. And they were cleaning the schools, cleaning the airport, carrying relief supplies to the helicopters. And these are kids 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, working with the sailors from the HMS Line, working with the Dutch sailors and the Dutch Marines. And so it was a warm feeling, a feeling of satisfaction that we at least had set up an organization on Dominica that could work at a time of disaster to serve our needs. So this whole Kudme idea is where Dominicans at home with each other in community could work with our communities overseas as one united front. We can have a better go at it. And I want to thank our government and opposition. Give them a round of applause for working together as a united team, because we need a government of national unity at this time to move the country forward. A round of applause for the leadership of Dominica Post. Prime Minister Skerritt, Mr. Linton, the folks in government and opposition are to be commended. They are to be commended because in 1939, when Britain faced Germany, when Germany was rampaging across Europe, Britain was divided. They had a conservative government and they had a Labour opposition. At that time, the British people thought the most important thing was for them to unite. And they brought in a guy called Winston Churchill. And they had a government of national unity. And guess who won the war? Britain won the war. A round of applause for Britain for also helping us at this time of disaster and for the principle of unity. Thank you very much. So folks, we don't have to travel very far. In our own culture, we do have systems that work. We know unity works. We know Kudme works. We know the old biblical adage of love thy neighbor as thyself. We know that that works. We're a Christian nation. We're a small nation. But the Jamaicans, as Miss Lovely like to say, the Jamaicans like to say, we may be small, but we're Tawa. What that means is that we're prideful, not prideful in the way of being arrogant and cocky and looking down on other people, but proud that God has given us a nice country. Proud that He's given us fresh water. Proud that He's given us good soil. Now what are we going to do with it? Folks, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, we owe Dominica our help at this time. We can get help from the United States. I heard some people complaining that the United States has not rushed to our aid. The United States is a great country. It's our friend. It's our ally. It's a country where so many of us live. But the United States has problems too. We know that, don't we? So understand that even when the United States gives us anything, it owes us nothing. No foreign country owes us anything. We owe Dominica everything. Repeat after me. No foreign country owes us anything. But Dominica, we owe everything. Okay, so the pledge basically says to give all skills and to give all loyalty to Dominica. And we must do that. And what that means is that we must embrace volunteerism. Many of us come to the United States and we see the big buildings and we see the wealth and we see the cities, but we do not sometimes really appreciate and recognize that the United States is a country built on volunteerism. The United States is a country where people volunteer for their PTA, and they go to PTA meetings, and they raise funds, and they clean their neighborhoods, and they do all these things on a voluntary basis. Let's hear it, folks, for volunteerism. Not too long ago, my dear friend, Ambassador to the United Nations, Mr. Anderson, met me. There was a flood in Dominica, and some people came out and they cleaned some of the landslide out, and he said some of the folks met him later in town, and they held their hands out and asked him for money. But the fact is, he said, look, you guys were volunteers. This is your neighborhood. This is your community. If you don't clean the road, how are you going to pass through? And I met a teacher at the airport once, and she said to me, somebody met at the airport and said, Christian, I wouldn't call her name, Miss, they call her Miss. Miss, I'm not in that volunteerism business because it doesn't have any money in it. Did you hear me? The person told the teacher that they're not in that volunteerism business because it doesn't have any money in it. So it means that they did not even understand the meaning of the word volunteerism, or to volunteer. So I want to conclude with this remark, or these few remarks. At rebuilddominica.org, we intend to work with everybody. We're non-partisan, transparent, and committed to rebuilding our agriculture, rebuilding our industry, working with government, working with opposition, working with the private sector, working with all Dominicans and friends of Dominica to rebuild. We want to teach a man how to fish, not give a man a fish. We want to give folks a hand up, not a handout. We want to create the pride of independence, and we want to create the pride that comes with being self-reliant and self-sufficient. In conclusion, I want to say a few words about the flag. The Dominica flag was designed by my old English teacher, Alwyn Bully. Let's hear it, folks, for Alwyn Bully. Alwyn Bully continues to be a spectacular Dominican in his achievement. He taught English at the grammar school, he was an actor, he was an artist, and he designed the national flag. Our national flag has a cross on it because Dominicans are by and large Christian. We're a Christian country. Say it loud for Christianity, folks. Don't be sad and be proud to be Christian. And we ask God's mercy on us to give us, we love the rain, but give us a little less rain for the next few months. Let us dry out a little bit. Let's be more prayerful and thankful to God for what we have. So the cross is on our flag. And in that cross is embodied the ethos or the principle of a united country. You've got the black, represents folks like me, descended from Africa. Yellow, representing the sun, but also people who are of the Carib heritage. We are all one. And the white, representing, of course, those of European heritage and brilliance and purity of our ideals. And the red, representing social justice, or as Mayor told me that McCleavey was a socialist. Well, you know, Patrick John, who was then the Prime Minister at the time, or Premier then, stood for socialism, and that's what that represents. And then the stars representing the parishes, and the green representing our land. So let's hear it for our flag and Alden Bully who designed that flag, ladies and gentlemen. We're proud of it. We love our country. We'll sacrifice for our country. We do so with pride. We do so with a sense of purpose, love, unity, and a keen desire to do well, a keen desire that we be a burden to no one, that we be a friend to all. And at this time, let's hear it for Caribbean and other allies who rushed to aid. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We thank them, we love them, we appreciate them. We know that today it is Dominica, tomorrow it is somewhere else. And so we have stood for Haiti, we've stood for the folks in Katrina in New Orleans, we've stood for the folks in Jersey when Sandy hit, and we have to take care of our neighbors, because if we don't, then who will take care of us when the time comes? So let's ask for God's grace upon our land. Let's ask for God's grace upon our leadership, government and opposition, working together for a better future. Let's thank God for DOTSAC. Let's hear it for DOTSAC, ladies and gentlemen. And may we continue to meet here in Bridgeport year after year, committed to the proposition that we have to volunteer, that we have to give our time. When I look at some of the people who I've known for many years, dressed with their work duet, year in, year out. They're not paid. They do this out of sincere love. They're beautiful. All of you are beautiful. And give yourself a round of applause for being consistent, year in, year out, holding up our flags. I want to thank you. I want to thank DOTSAC for the opportunity to have said a few words to you. You know, I didn't want to really give much of a speech, and I think I've said enough, but I think you've gotten the message. That we really have to ask ourselves when we wake up in the morning, what shall be the quality of our service? What shall be the quality of our contribution to our homeland? Because you know we can't take the car with us, we can't take the house with us, but we can live behind a legacy of service to others. And by living behind the legacy of service to others, we do grace, and we do God's grace on all mankind. Thank you very much. God bless you. Love you very much. At this time, I'd like to make a few presentations. I'd like Lord Solo to come up to the stage. Lord Solo, the gentleman who sang that famous song, and Mayor Finch. And I'd also like to call to the podium Miss Fern Mann. If she's somewhere in the audience, can you come up, Miss Fern Mann of DOTSAC? And Ambassador, can you join me? My old teacher is here, and I'm not sure what grade he's going to give me for my presentation. I hope I can squeeze through C or something.
I think he deserves a passing grade.
Thank you. So one of the books that Poncasse Press, which was founded in 1990 by myself and Right Honorable Justice Levin Andre of the Superior Court of Brampton, Ontario. The book on Eugenia Charles, who was the former Prime Minister, who served us with distinction. A round of applause for the memory of Eugenia Charles, ladies and gentlemen. And she was a politician of note, as Mayor Finch is here. So I think Mayor Finch, I'm going to give this to my teacher, because without him I would not be here, and he will hand to you this gift, this token of appreciation for having us here at Jasper McLeavey Park. Thank you. I'll call on our UN Ambassador Vince Henderson now to make a presentation to the Lord Solo. Let's hear it for Lord Solo, ladies and gentlemen.
Just given a book by Mr. Irwin W. Andrews and Gabriel J. Christie. It's called Death by Fire, and the explosive story of 1963 Carnival Saturday. Belonzo, and thank you very much. I'll make a song about Mass in the Cemetery.
I'm not too sure if we can get him to sing Mass in the Cemetery, but we'll try. What do you say, Solo? Maybe. Okay. We've got this. A round of applause for the Lord Solo, ladies and gentlemen. And Mr. Mayor, if I can have you make a presentation to Miss Fern Mann.
Everybody figures out by now that I am completely blown away, surprised, and otherwise. Thank you, Mr. Christian, and I absolutely will be reading this one.
Round of applause for Fern Mann, folks. Fern Mann exemplifies the whole principle of volunteerism, the whole ethic, the whole spirit of giving of herself to the community within which she lives and to which she belongs.
Dominica Tri-State Area Connection 2015 Teamwork Award, host Erica, August 27, 2015, presented to Dominican diaspora organizations in connection of your outstanding team relief efforts. Well done. Sponsored by Champion Awards and Promotions.
At this time, however, I am going to call on Ms. Fern Mann, who has the next item on the program. Ms. Mann.
I'm going to make this very quick. On behalf of Dominica Tri-State Area Connection, and yes, today's event was planned by Dominica Tri-State Area Connection. On behalf of Dominica Tri-State Area Connection, I'd like to say thank you to a number of people who were involved. I'd like to say thank you to a number of people who were involved in the planning process of today's event. Now, the problem is you call names and you forget a few, and that's difficult. So, I'm going to call a few people, but a few people are not going to hear the name. Dominica Tri-State Area Connection is made up of, at this point, about 10 or so members, give or take. And the mayor of this great city, the city, and the staff of City Hall have been wonderful, have been gracious, have been very generous in allowing us to have this opportunity to raise our flag in celebration of Dominica's independence. And so we're grateful to the mayor, his office staff, and the city of Bridgeport, and to the great United States of America in which we live. That's one. Okay. Secondly, we'd like to say thank you to the people who participated in today's event. You know yourselves. Special mention to our featured speaker, Mr. Gabriel Christian. He's driven a long way to get here, and we're very grateful for his presence here and for his words to us. Thank you so very much to our ambassadors. Our ambassador to the United Nations, Dr. Vince Henderson, our ambassador to the OAS and the US, Mr. Hubert John Charles. I'd like to thank you to Mrs. Velma Lovelace, who has stood in for the mayor when he has disappeared. Thank you so very much for being there and supportive. Thank you to all those who participated, our singers, our drum corps. Thank you to the people who came out to attend. Without you, we wouldn't be able to have this event. Thank you to the people who donated. Thank you so very much. God is going to bless you for your help to Dominicans. Thank you also to our friends, our honorary Dominicans who have come out in support of us. We love you. We really love you. Thank you. Let's see, who am I forgetting? Thank you to DOTEC members for all your contribution. Our DJs, Leroy and Burnham Stowe. Thank you to DBS and TDN and Marpin and all our media houses who were recording and who were transmitting on our behalf. Q95 FM and News 12 Connecticut for spreading the word about our